Welcome to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers with Linda Prio. Will it be possible to remain in my home as I age? Do I feel safe in my home? How do I figure out how much support I will need when my health needs start to change? What if I decide to move into a community instead? Which community will meet my needs now and in the future? Who will play a role in helping me with decision making? Do you ask yourself these same questions? Aging in Place Strategies and Answers can help you gain practical knowledge that will help you create your own Aging in Place roadmap. If you are already a care partner, a power of attorney, or in crisis mode with your Aging in Place strategy, you will learn what you need to know that you don't know. For over 20 years, I have been marketing Aging in Place services to clients and educating families and healthcare professionals in how to put aging in place strategies into place. When you utilize aging in place, you are allowed to choose where you want to live and make those decisions so that you can retain your quality of life. Welcome back to Aging in Place, Strategies and Answers. And today I'm going to ask a question. Should you and I rethink retirement? Okay, now don't turn off the podcast. Don't get mad. But I just want to throw that out because while I was doing some research, I unearthed some interesting things. And of course, I want to share those things with you. Today, we're going to learn some things that might make your retirement in 2024, or sometimes called your next chapter, even richer than it is now. Retirement is a good thing, not a bad thing, but like any stage of life, it can also have its share of pitfalls. It is also a time of life that many who decide to retire have not really created a roadmap for it. Just like aging in place, the ability to remain at home as we age successfully and safely can happen if we plan. We get to choose and we get to decide what to include in our second chapter or retirement years. We get to decide what we would like to do in this time of life, what we want it to look like, and more importantly, how we're going to stay connected with life and the world. So while I was doing research, I wanted to ask the question, should we rethink retirement? And interestingly enough, from the MIT Age Lab, I found out that maybe retirement should be renamed longevity planning. Why? Well, the MIT Age Lab says that Americans are living longer, and it is really changing the nature of retirement planning. The classic retirement framework aimed for seniors to have enough money to fund their lifestyle in their old age. While that is not incorrect, the framework is incomplete, says Joseph Coughlin, director of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology Age Lab. Longevity planning is a better way for society to think about old age, especially since the future is much grayer than it's ever been before. Did you get that? The future's much grayer? Ha. Well, there's roughly a 50% chance that Americans who are 65 years old today will make it to 85, a period that lasts about 8,000 days, or roughly a third of their adult life. So instead of thinking of it as a short period of time earmarked purely for leisure and travel, retirement in the future could be increasingly dynamic. A time in which people have different part-time gigs and other ways to stay happy and engaged and find a purpose? Well, you will not only need a financial portfolio to help you pay for additional care services that you might need at home or even for home maintenance, but this article said that I will also need a social portfolio that will help you socialize and go through life and stay connected. So, what else do we need to know about longevity planning? Well, I'm sure that you have talked with people that have told you that when they retire, they're going to blank, and then they fill in the blank with a comment. You might have even asked that question of people, well, what are you going to do when you retire, as a way for you to figure out maybe what your direction should be. Well, one gentleman told me that he was going to retire and play as much golf as possible, which he did for 6 months. And then he said he realized that he had fulfilled his desire to play as much golf as possible, and then it was time to move on to more meaningful activities. Besides, he found out that his habit was expensive, and he knew that he had more to offer than just going out to the golf course. Although he was still going to play, it wasn't going to be his entire focus. Others have told me that they would like to travel, but they never even left the city they live in. Without a plan, your plans fail. And then, of course, you and I hear stories all the time where life intervenes and we have to take the desire to travel or the desire to do a certain thing off our wish list. Those who do travel have either figured out the easiest, the best, and the least expensive way to travel so it doesn't drain their retirement account. In fact, I just read an article giving a cost comparison between living in an assisted living or living on a cruise ship. And that was really entertaining. So you might want to check that out too. You have heard before of cruise companies offering worldwide cruises. I had a friend who told me that they were going to look for the house of their dreams so that they could retire there. We've had other friends who have decided to buy land in the country. I had another friend who decided to build the house of their dreams. So you get to choose the kind of retirement that you want to live, and you get to fill in that blank. I have also talked to other people who, when I asked them what they were going to do when they retired, they said, whatever I want to. I don't really have a plan, and many confess that it has taken them 6 months to a year to get into some sort of rhythm past their retirement and find some sort of purpose or other ways to fill their usual working time, their 40 hours a week. My children have children of their own and are living through the different stages that children and teens pass through. When my husband and I were in those stages of our lives as parents of children, then teenagers, our parents would mention the terrible twos, but they never mentioned anything about the other stages that our children would pass through. But I have heard my husband and I ask ourselves the question, and many others as well, is there an operating manual or some sort of guidebook that comes with raising children? Because we could sure use it now so we can weather and be successful at their different stages of development. Well, the truth is that there is no guidebook really for how retirement needs to look, or let's rename that longevity planning. There's no formal training to help us. And even though more people will want to age in place, I've already told you that very few people plan. So now here is another area of our lives where maybe we need to think about how we want our retirement to look. So let's look at some of the research I found as I was going through and preparing for this podcast. Aging well or successful aging has been defined as the ability to maintain low risk of disease-related disability, high mental and physical functioning, plus active engagement with life. Amen to that. We all want that. Here is another theory on aging well. Staying physically active, maintaining a well-balanced diet, and being mentally alert will foster a comfortable, healthy aging experience. So just to review, staying physically active is important. Maintaining your diet, being mentally alert, physically out there trying to improve your health will help us get to a healthy aging experience. I also found out that successful aging included these 4 pillars. And these pillars of health can be broken down and defined as social, spiritual, physical, and intellectual. So if you're a planner and you are starting to think about longevity planning as we are talking through this today, perhaps labeling these topics, social, spiritual, physical, and intellectual, would be valuable to you, and then start putting activities or things associated with each of these items to make sure that you're getting a well-rounded viewpoint of things that we need to add or change or move into as we plan for longevity. Did you know that some studies have linked retirement to a decline in health? One ongoing study found that retired people, especially those in the first year of retirement, are about 40% more likely to experience a heart attack or stroke than those that keep working. U.S. News and World Report had this to say about aging well. While many workers look forward to retirement, financial struggles and other surprises can present challenges during this phase. So, to prepare for your own retirement or to rethink retirement now that you are in it, U.S. News and World Report says it can be helpful to see what other retirees have shared that put a hiccup or two in their retirement plan. So this list that I'm going to give you was compiled, and these are some of the biggest retirement regrets that were shared from folks' retirement age. The number one item at the top of the list was a vague financial plan. The other was no retirement goals. The other factor clearly at the top of the list was being able to count on long-term employment, but then had to retire early, or there was downsizing at the company, or during COVID, businesses went out of business, or with increased computer and technology, many jobs are eliminated. Some folks have mentioned that when they decided to buy the dream home or move to their dream state or move to another country where it was cheaper for them to live or to sell out of everything they had, that they really felt like they lost touch with their adult children, and that was not a feel good. There were also some drawbacks of early retirement, such as reduced finances, but also social connections. Also, many retirees that were polled said that when they initially retired, they were just really looking at what they wanted to do, and they realized that that was kind of empty. So at some point, they felt like your retirement should include people beyond you, or maybe volunteering, or doing that hobby, or helping children learn how to read. Looking beyond themselves really brought pleasure and purpose into their retirement years. This might be one that I have failed to do so far, and that is to embrace a slower pace. You know, it's really okay to slow down, and we all want that, but failing to embrace that can make your retirement plan look empty and that you're not achieving very much. Many Retirees also said that not starting a second act career sooner was a regret of theirs. And I love the way they put that, a second act career. And of course, not having a lack of purpose was huge. And then, of course, we have seen in these years post COVID that inflation has really been a factor in our retirement planning and being able to handle the day to day costs. Pew Research said that senior workers are staying in their jobs now in this second act, or in their rethinking retirement, or in their longevity planning. In fact, they might even be finding new jobs, but they're definitely re-entering the job market. Did you know that roughly 1 in 5 Americans aged 65 and older were employed in 2023? And that number is nearly double the amount of those who were working 35 years ago. This is continuing a long-standing trend. Older workers are more than twice as likely as younger workers to be self-employed. So that is a change, and that's where that second act career, or that is where that I've always wanted to do X and X, and I've always wanted to have my own business. Taking all these factors into account, more older adults in the workforce are working longer hours, and they usually have higher levels of education, and they're being paid a greater pay per hour. Older workers' overall contribution to the labor force has grown quite a bit. And in 2023, they accounted for 7% of all wages and salaries paid by U.S. employers. And that is more than triple the number in 1987. Let's take a moment to hear from one of our sponsors. Hi, listeners. This is Linda Prio, your host and one of the sponsors of Aging in Place Strategies and Answers. If you would like to have a speaker for your group or your organization, please contact me at linda.agingstrategies@gmail.com. Now, let's get back to the podcast. The good news is that if you have not retired yet, but retirement is on your radar, or you are headed in the direction of retirement, then this podcast is perfect for you. The good news is also for those that have already retired, that it is not too late to make plans, create goals, figure out how you want to plan your retirement. You get to make those decisions. You get to decide what it's going to look like. But there's plenty of people out there who can give you some good advice when you talk to them. So one evening, my husband and I were out to dinner at one of our favorite places, and the gentleman who was helping us said that he had retired at age 55 from the airline industry. He was just done with that particular career. So he was off for about 5 or 6 months, and he realized that he was ready to get back into the labor force, and he wanted to start his second act career. So he had decided to start working for this particular restaurant chain. He said, apparently they like me because now I have 3 jobs at this restaurant. But he's still there, and he's so good at what he does that I know that the restaurant is happy to have him, and he is happy to be back in the workforce because he chose to come back. And doesn't that always make us feel better when we get to make those choices? If we want to defy our age and master our age and rethink retirement, then Forbes Health Advisory Board offered these suggestions. We should focus on our brain health, that a healthy diet, sleep, exercise, mindfulness, and meditation could be key ways to help us focus on our brain health. We also need to challenge our brain because we can learn new skills. We can learn new games. We can also take up new hobbies. We can also create goals and challenges. Did you know that hearing loss really affects your brain, your balance, and your social life? It can also affect your self-esteem, cause isolation, and can increase anxiety. So if hearing loss is something that is affecting you, then maybe it's time to get on that. Forbes Health Advisory Board corroborates what I told you in the first podcast of this year in the way to defy your age or master your age, and that is to reward yourself. You are worth it. And when you make good choices that help you earn long-term benefits, you're going to be able to live longer, be healthier, be more active, and be more engaged. And fitness will help change the way you age. Forbes also mentions that telehealth is here to stay. And there are so many advantages of telehealth, even though I know, and you're probably sitting there thinking, I hate telehealth, I hate bank tellers that are now virtual, but this is part of technology. And the reason why telehealth is here to stay is because they can do all kinds of monitoring. They can monitor from hospitals, they can monitor from other places, but not having to be transported somewhere when you're not well or you're going through a difficult health episode could be quite important. So learn how to stay engaged in all kinds of technology. Be aware that assistive technology is going to be your new friend. There are hearing aids, there are earbuds, there are audio books, there is virtual learning, podcasts too. There's also music and radio, there's Google, there's Alexa where you can call for help, and there's online ordering. Remember that it is important for you to take a balanced approach to health. And that balanced approach is not just going from one doctor to the other and buying more prescriptions. It has to do with diet and exercise. Also, Forbes recommends that we keep negativity in check. Learn how to practice gratitude. Say please and thank you. And learn to appreciate the day and what you're doing. When you're out in the world or engaging with others, how about a simple smile? Hold a door. Help a neighbor. Say hello. Offer a compliment. But keep your negativity in check. Get on your health, staying on top of what you need to watch so you don't go down that slippery slope. And I would add to that list, do what works. Buy a planner. Write down your tasks. Cross them off. Get up at a normal time and retire at a normal time. Your circadian rhythm is going to be better maintained when you have a routine. Maybe it's time to start a new routine. Ask yourself, what can you do today? Where might you volunteer? Or who do you think could benefit from a kind word or some wisdom on a situation that they're going through? Let's learn how to master our age while rethinking what we want out of our retirement and how we could benefit others. Aging and retirement or longevity planning has changed dramatically in just one generation. There is a new reality to maintaining health and economic security, as well as contributing to society as people age. Traditional retirement plans are disappearing. The cost of daily living continues to rise, and more than 84% of people 65 plus are coping with at least one chronic health condition. Most importantly, people are living longer, much longer than previous generations. Our nation's 76 million baby boomers have been given an unprecedented gift of time. Aging Mastery programs created by the National Institute of Health in 2013 will help seniors address both the benefits and the challenges of this new longevity bonus. The book that you and I were looking for when we were going to raise our young children, the operating manual, the guide, well, there isn't one, and there hasn't been one for how to age well. But the National Institute of Health has created one for us. These aging master programs are offered in many communities and can help individuals through the retirement phase of life. The suite of products offered through these programs incorporate evidence-informed materials with inspiration and small nudges to give people the skills and tools they need to achieve measurable improvements in managing their health, remaining economically secure, and contributing actively in society. All the materials and the resources align with the goal of helping people enjoy self-sufficient lives. So do an internet search or check with your senior centers or your library to see if they are offering aging mastery programs. In these programs, behavior change is a key metric, and the survey shows that program participants usually take positive steps to improve their lives in each of the 10 classes. And these classes showed specific improvements in physical activity, advanced care planning, and now the program is looking at how the classes can have an impact on mental health and social engagement. You can learn more about aging mastery programs on the National Institute of Health website. As I was thinking about future retirement and listening to the radio in my car, I heard a man sharing information about Finishing Well Ministries, and I thought, oh yes, that is what I want. I want to finish well. When I looked up Finishing Well Ministries, I realized that part of the process that they recommend is to continue to grow and do not stagnate. Dr. Hal Halbecker has written a book called 7 Essentials for Finishing Well, and I challenge you to go and take a look at that. You can get that anywhere you buy your books or definitely on Amazon. Again, his tenet is fulfilling God's plan for our aging years. It's all about growth and not becoming stagnant. How will you plan your retirement? Are you going to make a plan? And what will it look like for you? And I thank you for listening today because I have given you some steps that you can take as well as some additional information that will help you to be able to organize your thinking. But I want you to continue listening to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers because next week I'm going to be interviewing Jim and Martha Brangenberg, and believe me, they have taken retirement planning to a whole new level. Caregivers, here is your caregiver tip today, and I think it follows along quite nicely with what we've been talking about. Because when you're a caregiver, you tend to forget about your needs. You forget about your goals. And it is entirely possible that you might forget about your retirement plans. Because when you're a caregiver, you seldom get to think about yourself because you're putting the needs of others first. However, neglecting your finances and quitting your job may not be in your best interests long term. One day I was at work and a social worker called me about a client whose son had been their primary caregiver and he had not worked for 10 years. And now that his parents had passed, he had no work history. And so she was asking very particular questions about whether he might be employable with our company, et cetera, et cetera. But be aware that not showing a record of earnings, not paying into Social Security could really put a cramp in your style when it comes to your retirement. So caregivers, thank you for all you do, but don't forget to think about your finances, look to the future and past caregiving, and continue to make plans. Thank you for joining me today. Please remember that this podcast is intended as guidance and not advice. Share this podcast with friends and family who are currently in crisis mode or with people who would like to start developing their own roadmap for aging in place. Listeners, if you would like a deeper dive into a topic discussed during a podcast, please subscribe to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers, where you will be able to access premium content. Or if you would like to suggest a topic for this podcast, please contact me at linda.agingstrategies@gmail.com. As always, I value the time you spend with me.